There you have it. So we're very pleased tonight, as this series of Havdallah at Home has been ongoing for a few years. Usually it's actually at home, although I suppose you are all at home. But normally it's at someone's home, and it was meant to be as well this year. But we've pivoted to being on Zoom, and that certainly has some benefits. One of them being it's much easier to share music and videos and media, and that made it especially appropriate in some way to invite Dylan, who is speaking to us this evening about a really interesting project that he's done. Now, he probably never would have told me himself about having worked on this project. Someone, I think it was Ruth Goldsmith actually, had seen an ad on the tube for Indecent Proposal and noticed that on the bottom it said music by Dylan Schlosberg and said, "Does Dylan compose music?" And that's how Dylan's found himself here this evening, talking to us about what it's like to compose music for musicals, for theater, what it's like to work, especially at the moment, perhaps in the West End or off West End, and his unique perspective on it coming to it recently. And I'm going to hand it over to him to share a little bit with us about that experience and share with us a little bit about the music. You have to take yourself off mute, Dylan, because everyone's muted.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. And when Rabbi Adam asked me to speak, it was I was thinking, I'm not really sure what I could say. I'm quite new to this. It's not my profession. I thought what I'd do is I'll give you a quick background as to how I got into this and how I got Indecent Proposal on at the Southwark Playhouse last October. And then we'll have a look at some clips from the show. We had a recording of the last night's performance, which is super confidential and that no one's really seen it, but I think we can show some clips here tonight. And then any questions you might have. So I started writing songs when I was about 18 or 19. I wanted to be in a band. I play the piano and the guitar, neither very well. And I wanted to be a singer as well. And I also wasn't a very good singer. But I thought, okay, I can write some songs, some nice songs, and I was in a rock band, and the people in the band, I was 19, were saying to me, "Dylan, your songs really should be in a musical." And when you're 19 and you want to be in a rock band, that's not really the kind of thing that you want to hear. So I was quite upset. I thought, musical. So I carried on trying to be in a band. I managed bands, then work-wise, I went into a different career, but I've always kept music going. And then about 10 years ago, I saw the musical Spring Awakening. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but it's an amazing musical. It's actually on again now at the Almeida. I'm going to see it next week. And that was, in a way, an awakening for me as to the type of musical that I might want to do, or that I felt that my music could be placed. It was edgy, it was quite dark, it was quite rocky. It was not the more traditional type of musical, which I probably wouldn't be able to do from a composing side. So a couple of years ago, I was part of a group called MMD, Mercury Musical Developments, which is for people wanting to get into musical theatre, producers or writers, composers. And I knew the guy that used to work there. I emailed him about 4 years ago. I was living in Ibiza at the time, and said, how do I get a musical on the stage? There's a couple of film titles from the 80s, 90s that I thought would be really good as musicals. One was Indecent Proposal. I don't know if you guys, I assume everybody knows the film or knows the story. Robert Redford and Demi Moore, 1993 film. Amazingly, it was a bit of luck. He said to me, you've got to get the rights. And if the studio owned the rights, you're in trouble. But by chance, I contacted the author, Jack Engelhardt, who's a Jewish guy, lives in New York. He's probably about 90 now. And he owned the stage rights. And in the early 90s, when film companies used to adapt books, they never used to take the stage rights. Now they do. Now it's such big business, they'll take everything. But he retained the stage rights and was very supportive, and for a reasonable deal said, you know, you've got 3-4 years. If you can put on the stage as a musical, then do it. And from there, Neil Marcus, who became I guess the producer, he helped connect me to a writer, a guy called Michael Conley. He's American but lives in London, who wrote the book and the lyrics. We kind of had to base the story on the book and not the film, because otherwise we'd be sued by Paramount. And the book is very, very different. The book story, it's actually crazy. The couple, the husband is Jewish, and the billionaire, the millionaire, is an Arab sheikh. So not only have you got all the tension that you have in the film and in our show, but you've actually got a whole Arab-Israeli, Jewish-Arab conflict going on in this book, which we of course stayed well away from. We knew that there would be a lot of controversy in what we're doing anyway. We didn't need to go into kind of religious or Middle Eastern politics as well. So about 4 years ago, Michael he read the book obviously and started to write the draft. And he approached this music in a different way because it's a chamber musical. There's only 3 or 4 roles in it. So it's not a musical with huge choruses and songs and dance. And he felt that a story like this had to be told in a way that was reflective of the type of music and songs that I've written in the past that we hope to use in the show, but also the nature of the story. It's not the sort of story that you could just break out into song. It would almost be ridiculous unless you're trying to, do one of those comedic spoof type of ideas, which people thought we were doing or might do. It's a story which you have to bring the audience in before you can engage in some of this traditional music storytelling that happens on the stage. So he wrote this, I'll show you examples in a minute, but he wrote it in a kind of diegetic and non-diegetic way. And for anyone that doesn't know what that means, when in a musical, when a song is diegetic, the character knows that they're singing and the other characters around them know that they're performing. So the song belongs to the piece of writing at that point. And non-diegetic is normally, like most musical theatre songs, when you break out into song and the character doesn't know they're singing and the people around them don't realize they're singing, and it's more an expression of their thoughts or dialogue. And what I was so fascinating me to learn how I just thought you could always just break out into song, but I realized over time you couldn't. And in our show, we started in a diegetic way where music was a commentary in the background. And then when the stakes were high enough, the characters could break into song. So Michael set this in a casino in Atlantic City. Unlike the film, which was in Vegas, the book was written from Atlantic City, a kind of down and out casino in the 1980s, kind of Trump-esque. And it's set in a casino room, and given a small theatre in Southwark that was metamorphosized into the couple's bedroom and also into the Atlantic City boardwalk. And we have those 3 different scenes going through. And we got on very, very well. Most of the time, not most of the time, I say 2/3, I gave him all the songs I've written in the past, of which there are about 40, 50 songs, of which maybe only 15 were of any value. And he put words to those songs, to that music, which is not normally the way it's done in musical theatre. Normally it's the lyrics come first. But there were 3 or 4 songs where there was nothing that I'd done in the past that was suitable. It was certainly a little bit out of my depth, and he provided the lyrics, and I put music to that. And there'll be one song tonight, which I'll show you from the show, which is an example of that. Took about 2 years to do the draft, and then the next thing Neil said was, right, we need a director and a female director. So we sort of entered the world, and we were quite aware this is a very, very controversial topic. We actually started this right as Me Too was coming out, when Weinstein story, and it was really unfortunate timing because it was just like, well, the way things are in Britain, unlike America, when it comes to musicals, why are you doing this musical? Why are you doing this musical? And we'll come back to it. In America, from what I've been told, anything can be a musical. Any story can be a musical, and that it's just another format. Oh, great! I'd love to see that as a musical. In Britain, the question is always, well, why would that be a musical? Well, why would you do that? Why would you turn that into a musical? That was a question we had to answer, and we brought the director on, who brought. We were very mindful of the female perspective in the show, but she obviously took it to an even more authentic level, and helped us to, although we set it in the 80s, try and bring it up into the modern day, where the female character had agency, where the millionaire was not an older type character like Robert Redford, who couldn't be doing that, and really try to answer the question to everybody that, if you're a young couple in love, or not even necessarily young in this case, and you want and need money, and somebody came along and asked you for $1 million, gave you $1 million for one night, with one of the partners, in this case, say the wife, would you accept it? The moral dilemma. And it was very interesting because when we were doing rehearsals, there was some 20-year-old who knocked on the door and said, "Oh, what are you doing?" She'd never heard of Indecent Proposal, never heard of the story. And we told her what it was about. And she said, "What? Well, obviously you would take the proposal." She just thought we were mad. She thought, "What, for $1 million? Of course you take the proposal." And I don't know if it becomes a generational thing, that the debate changes, or as we try to do in our show, make it appear, not make it appear, but reflect the idea that it was quite easy to have the debate, and what comes afterwards can be very, very messy. You don't necessarily think about the consequences. Anyway, we eventually were meant to go on stage in May 2020, and then COVID hit. We'd actually even started advertising, and then we were going to go last August, and then COVID hit again. And that was very, very frustrating. It's been a nightmare for the people I worked with. They were out of work. There was no furlough for them. For me, I was lucky this wasn't my full-time job, but for these guys, it was an absolute nightmare. And they were left high and dry, and the theatres as well were struggling. But eventually we went into rehearsals in September in Houston for 5 weeks, and then managed to get it on at Southwark on the 28th of October. And it was very challenging with COVID. It was obviously pre-Omicron, so we were in that slight lull where people were getting COVID. It wasn't crazy, but there was actually a lot of, I don't know if you remember, in September, October, a lot of flu going around. People were having the other thing. So everyone was being very careful, and it was challenging. Masks were, the guidance was to wear masks in the theatre. Southwark's quite a young place, and I'd say half were wearing masks, half weren't. You don't have to wear a mask if you were having drinks, so people were wary. Anyway, we had a cast of 4, and we had the couple. The story is Johnny and Rebecca, who are the couple. Larry was the millionaire businessman. And then we had a 4th character played by Jackie Dankworth, who's the daughter of Cleo Lane and Johnny Dankworth. I don't know if you know these amazing singers from the 80s. She was amazing. She was the jazz singer kind of compere of the casino, and she brought everybody together effectively, and it was a circle in between them. Just seeing what else I might have here. Yeah, so I guess the best thing is, what's the time? 6. So if I show you a little bit of show you 3 or 4 little clips of the show, I'll explain what was kind of happening and the songs as well, and then maybe some Q&A. Do I share my screen here? Let's try this.
Yeah, you should be able to share, optimize for video, and share computer audio. The 2 little options on the bottom of the share window usually.
Do you see anything there?
Yeah, we see a YouTube tab, looks like.
Do you see like a guy? Do you see like a stage? A guy?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So here we are. This is the song. So what's happened here is we're about halfway through Act 1. Larry is the businessman, the multimillionaire, sitting down there and was just chatting to the wife. Her husband is a compere, Johnny, at the casino. They're both struggling for money. He's a singer-songwriter. He's very successful, and then the proposal hasn't been made yet, but she's giving as good as it gets, and was chatting to the wife here, and she's just kind of tricked him and put in a request for Larry to go up onto the stage and sing, which is very embarrassing for him. He said he was in a band when he was 16. So what Michael did as a writer, he framed the first act and the bit of the second around this casino where you have like jazz singers and you have performers, in order to give that diegetic notion that people know that they're singing, and the song reflects what's happening. So the wife in our show is called Rebecca, and Larry's going to go up and sing a song which is about a woman called Rebecca, and he's doing that to kind of taunt Johnny, the husband, and Johnny has no idea yet who this man is or what this man is going to do. He's very naive. He's just grateful that somebody's going to come up and sing. So let's see if this works. And this is an example of a song where one of the few songs that was out of my comfort zone, not really my style, and the lyrics definitely came first, and then the music.
We actually have a request for someone to sing. Lawrence, Does it say Lawrence?
I assumed that was what Larry was short for.
You want me to sing?
Unless someone's requesting a song called Lawrence.
Yeah, what better way to thank my husband?
But I don't know a song called Lawrence. I think this says Lawrence.
I like you.
Lawrence?
Nice to meet you, Johnny. He's great, isn't he?
Woo, woo!
Now, I didn't come here to sing, but well, why the hell not? Do you know the old Leafcutters song, Have Love Again?
The Leafcutters?
The Bulge covered it in '78.
I'll be glad. The Rebecca song.
That's it?
My wife's name's Rebecca.
Then you better know it.
Don't say what I know. Don't say I should go far away. I will stay where Rebecca is. With the love that I've had, I'll be glad not to have love again. Don't say life goes on. It can't if I've gone far away. I will stay where Rebecca is. With the love that I've had, I'll be glad not to have love again. No one said that she should care. No one said that life was fair. And no one said that love was kind. Staying here, it hurts like hell, but I don't mind. Is she mine? I know she's not. If I go, what have I got? Will she change? I know she won't. If she did, I'd die again. But don't say I could be anything long as she's gone away. I will stay where Rebecca is. With the love that I've had, I'll be glad not to have love again. With the love that I've had, I'll be glad not to have love again.
Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen, he was great, right? We're gonna take a quick break, so you know, eat in peace. Thanks for that, Lawrence.
Larry, please.
This is my wife,
Rebecca! We've met.
You know, I was named after that song.
Were you really?
My dad loved the Leafcutters.
Everyone's dad did.
Wait a minute, now do you two know each other?
We don't. Johnny, this is Larry Harris.
Jesus Christ! You're Larry Harris!
Okay, so that's wait. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, and the sound
Yeah.
came through fine.
Okay, great. So that's yeah. So there, he's commenting on what's going on, and at the same time, of course, he's singing. And being a chamber musical with such small amount of parts and given the type of story, this was a musical, but it was also a play with music. So there was a lot of dialogue here, and there were a lot of scenes where it was actually a bit more like a play, which we had to do to get the story along. I'm just going to show you a clip now of these two guys on the boardwalk. It happens about 10 minutes later after he's made the proposal to Rebecca. And it's where he starts to seed in, originally that he makes a proposal and the couple are like, don't be crazy, we're not going to do that, we're not going to do that. But then in the scene in the boardwalk, he puts the seeds of doubt in what starts to mess with Johnny's mind in terms of the rationality behind going through with such a proposal. And this is where we opened up the whole moral debate. There's no music in this one, but I'll just show you a bit of the, it's also on the boardwalk, which shows you a different scene here. It's,
I thought I'd find you here.
How?
there's a little bit of offensive language in this one. I apologize in advance. Just
I had someone follow you, he told me.
Right.
Did Rebecca call it a night?
She called it a night, and you an asshole.
I thought you might.
You were kidding, right?
About what?
What do you mean about what? About paying my wife $1 million to sleep with you?
No.
Who would do that?
I would. I did.
Why the fuck would you offer money to my wife to sleep with you?
Everyone has their price, Johnny.
Bullshit.
And I think $1 million is yours.
But why us? Why Bex?
I've never met anyone like her.
So?
I see something I want, I buy it. That's business.
Business? Jesus Christ.
You've been married 7 years? That's what, about 2,500 nights? I'm only asking for one.
No way.
Well, it's not your decision, is it?
Bex would never say yes.
Maybe not. But one night will come and go. Money can last a lifetime. So don't say never, Johnny.
Who are...
And then later he goes on to tell them that if you don't accept the offer, you'll think about the money for the rest of your life. You know, it's easy to say no, but if you say no to this, you know, one night, you'll always wonder what it would be like. So basically, as we get towards the end of Act 1, Johnny and Rebecca now are talking about it, whether to go through with the proposal. The stakes have risen, there's tension there, and this you're going to see the first time where it becomes non-diegetic. Rebecca breaks into song in a more traditional musical way, and actually you'll see Johnny's also singing in a diegetic way. They sing at the same time, but it closes Act 1 and is the first time that we go into that kind of traditional. Traditional structure. So we'll go from here. They're just ending the conversation about it.
It wouldn't have been prostitution, though, would it? Not technically, I mean.
Why not?
It would have been just the once. I think prostitution means more than once.
I don't know. I'm not the Oxford English Dictionary, Johnny.
Usually as a means of survival.
So?
I'm just thinking out loud.
Well, it doesn't matter because I'm not doing it.
I know.
And we're going to be fine.
Okay.
Any other questions?
We're gonna be fine.
I think so.
Think so?
We're fine. Are you working tonight?
I work every night.
I know. Can I jump in the shower before you?
Go ahead. If your answer is yes, and I hope it is, meet me on the boardwalk outside your office at sundown.
once naive enough to think you knew what was on the list of things you'd never do. Now the list grows shorter every single day. This is not the easy way, but you know who you are, and you know how you feel. You also know how far you'll go for what you know is real. They want you to fight, but then they refuse. The way they play, the easy way's the easy way to lose.
And come tomorrow, who cares what chance you miss today? And come tomorrow, who cares as long as you're okay? So never give up and never give in, and never stop fighting or thriving. Do what you have to, do what you want to. If that's all you do, you'll be fine. So do what is wrong or do what is right, as long as it's something that's more than surviving. Do what they tell you, do what you have to. If that's all you do, you'll be fine.
Were you ever young enough to say a prayer, thinking fate was real or even life was fair? Now you know that even when you win, you pay. You don't take the easy way. You know who you are, and you know how you feel. You also know how far you'll go for what you know is real. You fail and you fight, you change and you choose. The way they play, the easy way is the easy way to lose.
You look beautiful. Shit.
So that ended Act One, quite a tense moment, and set it up for Act Two. She went off with the millionaire for their date, and then it all unraveled in Act Two, and because the emotions were higher, you could get to more non-diegetic or breaking out into song type of material. The last clip I'm going to play you is Jackie Dankworth, who's, as I said, comes from serious singing royalty. She was amazing. She's actually a finalist for the Off West End Best Supporting Actor Awards, which is going to be which is in February. She's down to the 3 finalists, and she was great in Act Two. In hindsight, we learned a couple of things. We probably put 2 or 3 of her big songs in Act Two, and if we ever do this again, or when we do this again, we'll move it to Act One to balance it out. So there are a lot of learnings from this, but this is probably my favorite song I've ever done. Sometimes I'm not sure I'll ever beat it, but she sang this at the end, and again, it's commentating on what's been going on. You do see Larry, Rebecca and Johnny coming there for a bit as well, but it's towards the end, and things haven't gone well for the couple. They're kind of breaking up, and she's there singing the last song. She's been fired from the casino as well, so at this point, things aren't looking good. As you can see, I tend to like the more melancholy sort of songs. Something, let's see, okay, from
My last time appearing in the Ruckus Room at the Oasis Casino Hotel Resorts. But I've had a great time, and I'll miss you.
Should I start?
most of you.
Will you remember me? The way that I looked, the way that I laughed, the way that I loved, the way that I listened. Will you remember us? The way that we were, the we that we were, the wonder we were, why we were happy, or will you remember at all? See, I know how memories start to fade every time another one gets made. But I hope that I'll remember you forever. Will you remember me? The me that you liked, the me that you loved, the me that you left, the me I've forgotten. Will you remember us? The things that we did, the things that we said, the things that we knew, the things that we hated, or will you remember at all? Do you love him?
Are you fucking kidding me, Johnny? I need to not see you for a bit.
Okay. What'll I do?
I don't know, Johnny. I can't make any more of your decisions for you.
Can I call you?
Johnny.
Change the account to your name. Take it. The money, I mean.
It's yours.
It isn't.
What about Kat, NYU?
I can't ask you to do that.
She's my stepdaughter, Johnny.
Thanks. And Annie,
I know.
I know you know.
Just take the rest of the money, Johnny.
I don't want it.
Well, you're too late.
I know. See, I know how memories start to fade every time another one gets made. But I hope that I'll remember you forever. And I know how memories need some care. When you need them, they're not there. But I hope that I'll remember you forever. I may forget a thing or two. It won't be things that make me blue. It won't be things that make you. I may forget, as people do, the things I said that were not true, or things I never really knew, but not the things I'm hoping to. Oh, will I remember us? The life that we led, the life that we left, the life that we lost, the life that we gave up. I will remember you, the you that I loved, the me that I loved, the we that I loved. Or were we something? I will remember it all. See, I know how memories start to fade every time
There we go. So yeah, and then well, in case the next stage for this show is hopefully it's going to be a run in Holland. So I won't spoil the end in case anybody goes to see it in Amsterdam in 2 years' time. But yeah. Any questions? I think what have we got 10 minutes, Adam? Or
Yeah, we've got a bit of time. Dylan, that was absolutely gorgeous to listen to, and really interesting to see behind the scenes. I don't think that's something, certainly for myself, I'm sure for others, we get the chance to do too often. I'm going to let others ask questions, because I'm sure there are some about the process, about how you came to it, about how you came up with what you did. Anyone's welcome to take themselves off mute and just ask a question if they'd like to, or pop it in the chat. I'm happy to ask it for you.
Isn't she like her mother?
she is.
And that voice is wonderful.
Yeah, she's an amazing voice. And when I actually said to her at one point that there was somebody in the audience that came and said, "Oh my God, she's just like her mother," and when I actually told her that, she wasn't very happy.
Oh, oh dear.
Well, I think just, I don't know, you never know with mothers and daughters, they have their own relationship and issues. I think she didn't want to be compared to her in that way. But I know this link, that video, obviously she's clear lens, she's 92 now. And I know that Jackie took the video to show her. She didn't obviously come to the show, but she's still alive.
How long was the run?
Just over 4 weeks, 4.5 weeks. Yeah, we had quite a few previews, and then I think 1 week of previews and four weeks of actual run. And it was challenging in COVID. I mean, we did, we averaged about 60% capacity, which was above average compared to other shows. But even in September and October, London was not, it was not where it was a year and a half ago, 2 years. And theatres are still struggling now, and probably will do for the next few months. But yeah.
Did you get reviews of it?
We did.
What was it like reading the reviews?
Well, nationally we didn't have good reviews. So we had a split in reviews. We had not good reviews at all from the national press, which I'm quite new to this, so I wasn't necessarily surprised because of the controversial nature of the subject and the way reviewers are in the UK with musical theatre. The other guys were surprised. They were like, my writer's been involved in many shows and thought this is one of the best that they've done. But the national reviewers were very much of the, why is this a musical? They didn't quite get the diegetic, non-diegetic way that we did it. It's not a conventional musical. For sure, there's things that we can improve and learn upon, but it also, although we brought the story into the modern day and we really were very, very sensitive and careful, it's not the most woke or coolest sort of show and title around today. And some of these, I'm maybe being a bit biased, but some of these national journalists, they're looking for, they're older, tend to be older men, and they're kind of looking for kind of, your Hamiltons or your everything about Jamies or your very kind of edgy young person stuff, and this wasn't that. However, online we got some fantastic reviews, and I think we're approaching US theatres, and my writer's American, the one actor's American, and there's a view there, and maybe Adam knows this as well, being American, but they're much more open to musical theatre, and they're much more receptive and encouraging. And here, I mean, even Spring Awakening, which has had its second run, and to me is the most amazing musical. It got 2 stars by the Times and the Telegraph, saying the music was terrible, and my God, I think it won 9 Grammys about 8 years ago, and it was difficult for me, but I feel more bad for my writer, who kind of did the books and the lyrics, and the rest of the cast. The cast came out actually very well because the cast was strong, but the director, she was a bit upset.
It won 9 Grammys, but only received 2 stars from the press.
Yeah, the new one. What was incredible was that, like, the music is so bland or whatever. It's like, there's just, the thing about musical theatre is, unlike a play, it's so emotive that, a play, you can see the dialogue, but if you don't feel the music and you don't go in on it, it's not going to work for you, which is why some people absolutely loved it. And, you know, my style of music is quite simple songs. I try and make them quite easy to get first time, but, you know, they're not all singing, all dancing numbers. And if you want something a bit more complicated or a bit more, you won't like it necessarily, and that will maybe be a negative for the whole show in their eyes.
Fascinating.
I did put a question in the chat.
Oh yes.
Have you got another musical in the pipeline?
Not right now. I'm working with Michael, who I did this with, thinking of new ideas. We tried to get the rights for 2 or 3 things, but they're not available. I'd like to stick to something which is not necessarily known to the public, but at least is a story that I could relate to, or a film that I've seen, but it's not easy to get the rights. And we'll keep thinking, you know, but I'd definitely like to do another one, but these things take time. So if I do start something this year, it'll be at least 3, 4, 5 years before it gets on stage.
What would be the dream kind of story to tell if you didn't have to worry about rights?
Oh God, wow. I probably don't have one in particular. You know, actually, there was a film called The Fisher King. I don't know if you remember, from the 90s, with Robin Williams. That to me had everything. For me, my songwriting is quite narrow, so it needs to be something quite intense or edgy. You know, comedic writing is hard for me, and it was very interesting for me to learn that you have to put comedy in a musical. And my writer did so well in Act 1. There were real funny moments in Indecent Proposal. I never thought that you needed to do that, but you do, and that's quite hard for me in terms of writing songs. I don't know why all my songs are very, very sad, and I'm not really a sad and miserable person, but my songs seem to come out that way. I am doing some producing. So there's a musical called Cable Street, which we're working on, where I'm not involved on the books and the lyrics. I'm helping maybe creatively with the writers, and that's going to be really good. I think we might put that on the East End at the back end of next year, about the Battle of Cable Street, and again, very timely with racism and anti-Semitism and just general idea of people going different ways. It could be really good, that. So
Brilliant.
And as far as Indecent Proposal goes, the National Review has killed it for an immediate tour. So I mean, if you have amazing reviews, you could do a UK tour. We've got Holland next year, and hopefully translated for Germany, which would be cool. And we're approaching American theatres. And then once we've gone through that process and we've learned and changed a few things, we can maybe return to the UK. We may or we may not. We'll have to see.
That was wonderful. Will you excuse me? I have to go.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was really, really lovely.
Thank you.
Dylan, it never occurred to me the difference between the American and British approach to musical theatre. I didn't realize this was such a distinction, because I kind of grew up with everything. Like I said, everything's a musical, and musicals are very popular and tend to be well received. I wonder why that is in particular. I'm not sure that you necessarily have the answer, but what the difference is between the approach to theatre and musicals and telling stories using music, because it seems like something that enhances most stories for most audiences. It certainly makes it more accessible, I think, when it's told in song form. I don't know, maybe you have more of an insight into the Atlantic difference there.
No, I don't. I mean, I think it's very much cultural. I mean, I know even in the UK when I was younger, as I said, when I was 19 and 20, you know, like musicals were just not cool. And they're probably in many ways for many people aren't. And maybe theatres just got a different positioning with social demographics in the UK, or the history of Broadway is different to the West End. But it is very different there, and they're more opening. As I said, that we take Indecent Proposal there, they won't say, why are you doing this? Why would that be a musical? They just be like, oh, that'll be interesting. I loved Indecent Proposal. I'd love to see that in that form. Whereas here, the question is, why? What story are you telling? Was there a reason for it? So, it's cultural, and you know. Having said that, there are musicals that work better here that don't work so well there. interestingly. So, yeah.
Dylan, have you yet got any indication of the approach in Holland? I mean, they're, I guess, probably pretty much into not exactly wokeism, but that kind of attitude. I mean, have you got any feedback on that yet, or is that too early?
I don't know necessarily. I know, weirdly enough, it's a big musical theatre market. I mean, Germany is the 4th biggest musical theatre market in the world, and Holland, I mean, it's only 14 million people, but it bats above the station as far as theatre goes compared to the UK relative to the population. I don't have anything specific feedback on that. The producers there do want us to change a few things, so they gave us some feedback. So what's going to be quite interesting this year, the next few months, is the writer and me and their producers will tweak what we've done, but only so far. So there's like a level of compromise where we'll probably say, okay, we will amend it, but there's probably a level that a couple of things they want that we just don't want to do. I actually think it might be the other way, although there's like wokeism and they're much more liberal. I think they're more open to US style dramas and stories just for the nostalgia of that piece, and they love musical theatre. So I'm hoping it'll be a bit more like the States, where they're just going to enjoy the drama and the moral questions we ask in the music without going into the whys and should this be sort of thing. But we'll see. But then we've got to get it translated, obviously, for Holland and Germany. So that will be
difficult.
It'll be difficult.
But the songs as well.
Songs as well.
Yeah.
So and they'll find their own nuances. You know, the English language has its own nuances and expressions, and that'll be a learning thing for me. But we don't really get involved in it. We'll just change it, the writer and me, and then we hand it over, and they go and run it.
Interesting.
But they'll tour it there. So the way they do it in Holland is interesting. They literally have 1 or 2 nights in every town, and they've got like, I never even thought Holland, they've got like 30 towns.
Oh, goodness.
And every theatre's got 300-400 people. So it'll be a 60-night, you know, a 2-month, 2.5-month tour where, you know, the set will obviously have to be quite flexible and in and out, and they'll just put in a theatre for 1 or 2 nights. The good thing is when you go into a tour and you do it one night, you're going to sell it out because it's only on for 1 night in your town, you know, and that's how they're actually quite profitable there. So,
and will they will pick the performers, will they?
Exactly. But they will put it. So the guy I spoke to was actually super famous in Holland. He was a producer and the actor. I don't know him. I googled him. He's like won awards in Holland. He wants to star as the husband. So he's like super well known, and he said also the other character will be super well known. So they'll get, with that name title, they'll get 2 famous Dutch performers, and that will just guarantee them, you know, normally a sellout. If it's only 1 or 2 nights, you'll go to see the actor, if not the title. So yeah,
because that's very hard, touring 1 or 2 nights for some time. I mean, that's really tough.
That's their job.
Anything else people would like to ask? Lauren put in the chat, although the energy to see it in the UK sounds like we don't really know. Is that right?
Yeah, at this stage, not for a while, I'm afraid.
I'm curious before we leave, but this has been really interesting, and I certainly learned a lot more about the back end of musical theatre. What are you going to see? You mentioned Spring Awakening, and Talia mentioned she's going to see it next week, so we'll hear her review. But what kind of examples do you think are on now or coming out soon of good musical theatre here in the UK?
Well, I suppose what's interesting for me, having gone through this, I didn't realize how big the fringe scene was here. So we put it at Southwark Playhouse. So there's a show called Operation Mincemeat, which is on again at Southwark, which apparently is amazing. I'll go and see. I'll probably do more off West End type of shows. But Spring Awakening, I'm going to see next week. I'm insisting my daughter Tia watches as soon as we can the new West Side Story. I don't know if people have seen that, but got to see that. I can't think of any big titles right now, but yeah, we'll see. Musical theatre's had a break, and hopefully there'll be a bit of a renaissance post-COVID later this year.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you. I mean, huge thank you to you, Dylan,
Please,
for
thank you for
sharing.
having me. Thank
The
you.
whole idea of this program when we started it was actually to get people to share something about their life that has nothing to do with the shul. You know, the kind of the other window into what people do, what they care about, what's important to them, and this has been quite illuminating because it's both a passion of yours clearly, and also at least partially a profession, although as you said, not necessarily a sole one at the moment. But the music was beautiful, and
Thank you.
I'm sure that we'll be seeing more of your name on tube ads in the future, potentially, uh, for future musicals. So thank you very much for joining us, for sharing, and for opening up a little bit about the process. And I'm sure if anyone else has questions, you can find a way to get in touch with Dylan to ask them. And yeah, maybe the album will be out and we can share it as well.
Maybe we'll do that instead.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us, and Shavua Tov, and thank you once again to Dylan.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.